Hey guys, George here, and today what I'd like to bring to you is a short discussion on the basics of armor. And where is it better to start than in Starter Kit 3 with scenario S20, S21, Clash at Boriskova, 14th of March, 1943. And the reason why I always read the date is because you can get a grasp as to what terrain is in season or not. And in this case, orchards are not in season. And if there was any grain, it isn't in season now, I suppose. And that is important to note because in this case, orchards act as a hindrance to higher elevation as opposed to an outright blockage of line of sight. That's why I like to read the date. I also like to read the consequences of the battle and whatnot. So there's a couple of fundamental things that you need to know about armor before playing armor. First and foremost, if you take a look, let's take a look at the armor counters up close. We have a couple of armored fighting vehicles here, side to side. And let's start with movement. So with movement, it's important to note that vehicles have movement points, whereas opposed to cavalry, I know there isn't any cavalry in starter kit, but there is infantry. So for infantry, it's movement factors, whereas opposed to vehicles, you have movement points. And I suppose that they have that difference because when you get to the advanced game and you have passengers and riders and crew, when infantry disembark, they lose a portion of their movement factors relative to how much movement points their unit expended. So in this case, you have the Russian T-34 with a black 16, and what denotes the fact that this is a fully tracked vehicle is the fact that we have a little oval here with rounded sides, right? Elongated oval, almost identical to the NATO symbol for armor. I hope people notice that. And since the movement points are printed in black, this fellow here, this unit here, does not have to worry about mechanical reliability. However, the tank below here and the Tiger have their movement points printed in red, and in this case, they have to worry about mechanical reliability. And if they need to start up, before they start up, they have to roll, and if they roll an 11, they're delayed, and if they roll a 12, they're outright immobilized. So red movement points is an indicator of mechanical reliability. The other item you need to know is that if the armor factors, which are here, first is the front, and then side and rear is on this second. If one of the two is white, it's a small target. And if both of them are white, then it's a very small target. Whereas opposed to the Tiger here, he has his first armor target, armor factor printed in red, which means he is a large target and therefore easier to hit. If both armor factors were red, he would be a very large target and even easier to hit. Um, by the fact that you have a minus one to your dice roll, your two-hit dice roll, if you have a target that has one red factor, armor modifier, and if you had a tank with two red armor factors, you would get a minus two um, on your two-hit dice roll if that was your target. Now, you might also notice a little circle here and a little square encased in a square, an armor factor in a square. So what a square means, when you look at a square, think of a fortification. And a fortification is something stronger than something that's not fortified. So the square here denotes that if you hit the frontal turret, the armor factor is the next level stronger. So from 11, the armor factors jump to, I believe, 14. Let's take a quick look at that. I found it in the advanced MMP chart. So obtaining final two kill number, armor factor. So that's table C 711 in the advanced game. From 11 it jumps to 14, then 18 and 26. Now, as you see here in the T-34, in this particular model, the frontal armor is encircled, which means it has a weaker turret, and the one factor lower than the 11 means it's 8-factor turret if you hit the front, whereas the rear and side would still be an 11. And in this case here, it's the side and the rear hull of the tank. So the first armor is the turret, the second armor factor is the hull, and here it's encased with in a 3 encased in a square. So if you hit the side or the rear of this tank, the armor factor that you're facing is a 4. And the reason why the armor factor is important is that that factor is subtracted from the final two kill rule. So it lessens the chances of you getting penetration. And also, if you study the starter kit two kill table, depending on the size of the gun, they have different two kill modifiers, and that's because in the advanced game, depending on the size and distance, the size of the gun and the distance to the target, your armor factor modifiers may decrease. We have here 19 to 24, or 25 to 30 on a 76L. You got a base of 13, and that lowers to one less than 13 or 12, depending on the range. So, armor factors. The other thing that's important to note is this has a quick turret denoted by a circle. This has a slow turret denoted by a square. So when changing covered arc, when changing the turret covered arc, this unit incurs a +1 to hit dice roll modifier, whereas this one starts with a +2. And no turret is a +3. And lastly, speaking of turrets, you can see that this outline here is a thick or bold square line, right? So this means that it's a restricted turret, and this tank cannot fire with its crew exposed. Okay, so we spoke about armor facing as well. There's a little another doodad a doodad or a tip that I'd like to convey to you with respect to armor facing, but we'll do that later. And we also spoke about crew exposed just briefly with respect to this tank not being able to fire a crew exposed. However, if you are crew exposed, then you can take advantage of the road rate and pay half of a movement point per road hex as opposed to one. So what you should do with this tank is probably when you're advancing or crew exposed, and then during the advance phase you can button up. Okay, now another important number here, besides the main armament number, are the machine gun factors. So you have bow, coaxial, and if you have a third one, that means it has an AA gun as well. So in the case of the Tiger, he has a bow machine gun for 3 IFT and 5 for the coax. The coax is aligned with the main armament. And you can also, the trick is to fire your coax to see if you have line of sight and save your shot and save your main armament from a possible destruction. And in the real world, there are quite a few weapons, anti-tank weapons. Back in the old days, I guess Korea all the way to Vietnam, and even as early as late as the 90s, there were recoilless rifles that had a 50 caliber rifle round on the side of the weapon, just to ensure that you can sight it and try to target it and see if you're on track with what is happening, and then you could fire the rocket. That would be true for the 125 millimeter recoilless rifle, which I was trained on how to use rather briefly, but hey. Okay, so we got bow and coax machine guns right there. And the other thing that's important to note is that these fellows don't cower. So you can have a 2-shot or you can have a 4-shot, but they don't cower. And at point blank range, they're doubled and halved. And if they're firing in their prep fire phase, not previously moved, of course, these factors can double up to a 16 firepower attack, which is pretty powerful. Yeah. So, bow and coax. The other thing that it's important to note is, again, the other reason why I look at the scenario date, 1943, is if you look at the vehicle notes, or if you're using the board game, the actual back of the counter, the white side of the counter, will have certain information. For example, here CS means crew survival of 6, but in starter kit there is no crew survival. A smoke discharger of 7, smoke mortar of 7, an APCR, which is more effective against armor than it is against infantry. In this case, in 1942, you have a depletion number of 6. In 1943, you have a depletion number of 5. And in 1944, you have a depletion number of 4. I believe this fellow has Schurzan that is effective against bazookas. So what does APCR mean? APCR of 5 in this case, because we're playing 1943. So the exponent denotes the year, and the big 5, the base number, denotes the depletion number. And it's possible that this person's depletion number may be 1 greater than what's indicated, especially if it's being manned by an elite crew, by SSR, I believe. But anywho, in 1943, we have a depletion number of 5. He can declare an APCR shot. If he gets a 5, it would be his last round. If he gets something less than a 5, he can continue firing APCR. And if he rolls more than a 5, it means he didn't have that round at all. And it's as if the shot didn't happen. You mark him as depleted with of APCR ammo, and you can shoot an AP round instead. So almost like a free shot. Neil Ewan denoted that as a armor hack. Now let's go ahead and analyze the scenario, and let's see what tips I can give you. Now, caveat emptor, I lost it as the Germans and the Russians recently to a very formidable opponent that is used to playing armor in COI and at COD levels. And unfortunately, I didn't have luck. So if you have skill, you can have all the skill in the world and you can have all the tactics in the world, but if you don't have luck, forget it. Well, let's take a look and see what I would propose to you. Now, um, let's put the armor on the Russians start first. Let's put the armor on the board. And what do we have here? We have some victory conditions. The Russians win at game end if they eliminate more AFVs than the Germans. Each Russian AFV exited off the south edge counts as an eliminated German AFV. That's important, right? It's important because you run the gauntlet, you get off the board, it counts that Russian armored fighting vehicle that got off the board counts as a destroyed German vehicle. You get an instant kill. Now, why would you want to do that, right? You're running away like a chicken. So let's do a side-by-side comparison here. Big tiger here, big pussycat, small pussycat, and you have this the Sly Dog Soviets, Roadrunners here. Roadrunners, because look at their armor, their movement points compared to the German. How can you see it? Let's focus in here. Oops. Let's focus in. Let's go in a little bit deeper. Okay. That's better, I suppose. So, go like this. Nope, like that. Okay. So let's do a side-by-side comparison. In terms of mobility, it's clear and evident that the Russians have at least 2 more movement points than the highest movement point factor or movement point value versus the Germans. At least 2, 3 in this case. And put these bad boys on the road and they can go pretty far. Now, what I'm proposing to you is that these guys run the gauntlet. And you're going to tell me, well, George, look, let's put the 75L there versus the 76L. Okay? You're going to tell me the moment this guy exposes his rear, right, to the Germans, all this guy has to do with a quick turret is change his turret covered arc for 1, change it again for 2, change it again for 3. Now, this guy is in motion. So 2 hit, the base will be 10, changes the covered arc for 3, that's a +3 to his dice roll, +1 for being buttoned up, +2 for motion. Let's do that. Usually what I do is I take out the log here and chat line. I'm there. 10 vehicular target type, +1 buttoned up. I don't remember the letters, but I remember the issues. So +3 for changing covered arc, and +2 because he's in motion. And pretend he was in my line of sight almost forever. So it's a total of +3, +2, +1 is +6. So it would be ultimately a 40 hit. Now, this fellow here has a rate of fire of 1. Does he lose that? And the answer to that question, I believe, is no, because he is not a slow turret. If you are a slow turret or no turret with a rate of fire, if you change your covered arc, for example, if this guy changes his covered arc, he will reduce his rate of fire down by 1, but not this fellow, because he's a quick turret. Okay, so we said ultimately a 40 hit. 2 hit, we rolled an 11. See? What did I say about luck? Okay. Now, here's the important thing, though. The important thing is although I hit the turret, right? I I still oh I hit the turret. I hit the turret, but I'm facing rear. I'm still facing. I still exposed my rear to him as a Russian. So how do you not expose the turret? How do you not expose your rear? Is if you as you are going past him, you change your turret covered arc as you're going backwards, right? As you're exposing your rear to him, you're changing your turret covered arc. Okay, let's do this easier. Um, let's reset everything. So just so I can show you what I mean by this example, is as you're going past him, you're still facing him, right? There's no penalty for changing your turret covered arc. Oops, the other way. Okay, you move. He turns around. He's still in your in your in he's still in terms of the turret. You're still facing your front to him. Okay, you move around again. Change your turret covered arc the other way. And this is how I got there. Okay, I changed my turret covered arc again. Now he decides to fire. He gets my turret. He incurs the frontal armor, which is a turret hit, which would be not 6 factors, 11 factors, but still 8. And um, notice that it's pretty hard to hit this guy, although he's leaving. Now you might ask, why, George, did you not give him um, the -2 for range? It's because I never declared that it was stopped. And as a matter of fact, what I recommend to you is stay in motion. You stay in motion, he does not have the -1 or -2 dice roll modifier for range. So he'll continue to add +2 to the 2-hit roll. So the way this scenario is played out is basically we can do a couple of turns and see what happens here. Basically, delete that and reset that turret. And put these guys off board. Basically, the Russians come in on the first turn, already expended half of their movement points. And the way I kind of played it was I teamed them up. I teamed them up with. I teamed up these slow movers with at least one fast mover, just like this. And it was also important for me in certain cases in certain cases to take the high ground as well. And basically, you have all these entry hexes available to you. You can take advantage of them, and if you can, put at least one fast mover at a road. Um, yeah, There's no point in doing that. And here we can put these babies like this. Okay, so you're expanding. We can put Soviet turn 1. I forgot to say that you can watch this at double time, or if um, you get motion sickness, turn the channel, guys. All right, so we can start right off with movement, and they've expended already half their MP. So start them off crew exposed to take advantage of the road movement where possible. And I'm pretty terrible in faction, so bear with me. And where there's no road, um, just forget about going crew exposed to begin with. So this fellow has 8.5 movement points, but I'm not starting him on the road, so I don't have to worry. And I don't have to expend when to start because I'm already in motion at the beginning of the scenario. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then for this fellow here, I want to keep him in motion because if I stop him, I'm going to have to roll for mechanical reliability and risk immobilization. He'll have a hard time hitting other targets. But the point is I want him to, run the gauntlet. The other fellow is going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 to stop. You have to expend 1 movement point to stop, 1 movement point to start. Okay, and by the way, because this guy is in motion, he's no longer a hindrance to him. This fellow is going to go a half, 1, 1.5, 2.5 every time you change parrot arc, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5. He reached a couple of hexes further than these guys, but would it be worth it? Would 2 hexes be worth it? Yes, I'm afraid it would, because the other thing that I found was I had risked 2 AFVs being blown up. At least 1 did get blown up, just because they stopped at the edge of the board. And there is no excessive speed breakdown in starter kit. Here, a half. I'm using both hexes as a road hex side. So a half. 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 6, 7, to change cover 7.5, 8, 8.5 to there. This fellow is just, and let's keep him in motion. Don't forget the motion counter. These guys are runners. They have a good movement factor, but mechanical reliability can impede my movement. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 8. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to stop and delay. The other fellow, don't forget the motion status here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're in motion and they won't hinder him unless the German player wrecks him. I should have put a few more tanks here. So this fellow is going half and a half and 2.5 makes 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5 stays in motion. I may have gotten the height wrong. Where's my motion counter? There it is. A key screw exposed. He's going to go a half. I believe it's 2 plus cost of terrain because I'm using the road. So a half plus 3 is 3.5. I may have gone a little bit too far with this guy. 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, 7 to stop and delay. This guy's going to go a half, 1, and 4 to there, 4.5, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Maybe I should have put these guys a little bit apart. Okay. Now, the German player doesn't arrive yet. Advanced phase. We make sure that everybody is buttoned up because we want an opportunity to fire if we have to. So button them up. Now, as the German player, you might look very intimidated by all these tanks because look at their 76L guns. Let's take a look at their 76L guns. Let's get the Niels charts out here if we can. Where are my charts? Bear with me a moment, guys. Charts, click on this icon here, or F5, and let's bring them on the screen. I just realized you guys weren't seeing my rolls. Guess now you'll be able to see my rolls. And where are my charts? Where are my charts? Where are my tanks? Okay, SK references. SK to hit. German 85L. Is this? This is the 2 kill. So the German 85L, depending on the range, check that out. 21, 20, 20, 20, 20. Minus 11 is a 9 kill. But the Russian 75L or 76L, Russian 76L, 14, 13, 13, 13, 13, 12. That's APCR is in brackets. So the Russian 76L APCR is in brackets. We've got 14, 17. Depending on the range, you have to be really close. 16. And the Tigers are impenetrable. So, what's the trick of the game here? What you can do is really bum rush the Russians with your Tigers, and what you need to do with these fellows is to protect his flanks. So this unit is a Tiger, the other unit is a Tiger, lacks mobility, but has plenty of armor. So therefore, you can use the more mobile units to protect the fellow's flanks. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to put them crew exposed to gain some momentum, some movement. So let's put them crew exposed. Let's assign 2 panzers to each Tiger for the sake of protecting his flanks. So we'll go crew exposed as well here for 2 reasons. In this case, I'm not restricted from not firing, and for mobility, added mobility. And this fellow is going to go down the road as well, except for this guy. Here we go, and here. So these guys don't need to go crew exposed, but they will in any case. And they will because I don't want to incur a +1 DRM to my to hit roll. So that was Russian rout phase, advanced phase. We knock off all the moves, close combat, and go to rally phase for the German player. So now I'm crew exposed everywhere. And essentially the rally phase, all it consisted of was putting my units off board because this is a starter kit, prep fire, or nothing. Let's go to movement. Okay, let's move. So obviously I want to move my German Tiger tanks first. So this fellow is going to go a half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4, 4.5, 5.5, 6. They can use their full movement factors. 6 and 7. Now, depending on how much movement he was in their LOS, they can incur anywhere between a +2 to a +4 on the to hit table. Let's see if I can find the starter kit chart for that. So to hit nationality charts. That's to kill, to hit. Germans. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that you have fire-based to hit DRMs and target-based to hit DRMs. The Russians, for example, let's say this fellow here will want to shoot on him. All right. So let's do that. Okay. Let's take a line of sight check and see the Tiger is in L2, and that is a range of 15 hexes away. Okay, let's do a sample to kill. Do it nationality charts, and we have a Russian 76L right there. We said range of 15, so the range is a base 6, and a critical hit would be 2. Okay, what would be my modifiers to that base 6 DRM? +1 for being buttoned up, so we have here firing, advancing fire, no. Pinned, no. Non-qualified use, no. Captured, CX, no. Leadership, smoke, no. Intensive fire, fire within hex, APCR or APDS. At greater than 13, I would have to add 1. Avoiding backblast, nope. Buttoned up. Case 13, yes. I'm not abounding fire. Stun or motion, none of that. Okay, but my target is a large target, so the size would be a There's TEM, nope. Hindrance, nope. FFM, FNAM, and FFMO do not apply. Not an acquired target. Target using hazardous movement, not applicable. Target size. So it is a large target, which is -1. Area fire, nope. Motion vehicle. So greater than 3 movement points in my loss is +2. Less than or equal to 3 is +3. And less than equal to 1 is 4. So how many movement points did this guy expend in my line of sight? I can put the movement trail, and I can trace the line of sight. Oh, okay. I can trace the line of sight well back to here, where it was from here to there was 1, 1.5, 2. So it's less than or equal to 3, which would be +3. So let's do that. But before we do that, the wise thing to do is to fire your MMGs at the crew exposed, at the exposed crew. And that would be, he's still outside of my normal range of my guns. 2 + 4 is 6, so it would be a 2 up 2. Let's do that. He doesn't cower. 6 on the 2 is something. 6 on the 2 is a PTC. Yeah, 6 on the 2 is a PTC. So he suffers a pin check. Now, because he's driving a Tiger, his crew is considered elite with a 9 morale. It's in the vehicle notes. So let's do a PTC check. He's pinned. All that with a, and what does pin mean is he will incur a +2 DRM in addition to the other DRMs that he will need to fire out during the advancing fire phase. So he already fired his coax and his bow. And now in terms of 2 hit, there's 2 hindrances. So let's do that. Basics 2 hit, +2 hindrances. I put a little H there. +3 for motion, and +1 for being buttoned up. So a total of 6. So basically, in the advanced game, would be an unlikely kill, and I would have to roll snake eyes in order to hit him, and a subsequent DRM to determine if it was a hit or not. Let's just do it for the shits and giggles. I didn't get snake eyes. I didn't get rate either. What a bummer. You know, if you did get rate though, right? If you did get rate, you get a -1 arc, and then you roll again. So you would probably, ultimately, at the end of the day, if you kept getting rate up to a -2 acquisition, you would have been able to get at least something out of it. But you got a pin by using the MMGs. So I guess the other tip that I would give you is always use your MGs first against crew exposed units. You can't cower. You can pin them. If let's say they had a morale check and they failed, you end up getting a small stun. But if the crew is crew exposed and you get a K or a KIA, it's a big stun. And if you flip this over, is this what you get? Well, this guy, a big stun, is subject to recall. He goes back where he came from. Small stun, he gets a +1 penalty wherever he goes. So he first fired his coax and everything. Point. Well, I wanted to keep it short and simple, so I'll stop there. I gave you a 2-hit example. I showed you the example of firing with your machine guns at crew exposed. I gave you target size, slow turret, restricted turret, armor facing, inferior and stronger armor, movement points as opposed to movement factors, how they're expended, keeping in motion, and a motion target is not a hindrance, I gave you a lot in 44, 45 minutes. And maybe we'll do a couple of more. But I need to keep these videos short so I can upload them more effectively. And also give you the most amount of information in the least amount of time so you can remember things. I remember there was a skit on Saturday Night Live a long time ago. I forget Father Caltucci or whatever. He had this concept of the 5-minute university, so he charged the full university fee of, I don't know, 20,000 US dollars for 5 minutes of instructions, because 5 years after you graduate, that's all you remember. So he kind of figured out an advanced payment scheme. Anywho, that's all, folks. That's all, folks. Yeah, I gave you a lot of info. If you have any questions or any comments, comment below. Again, thank you for watching this video and enjoying it. And if you did enjoy it, I don't want you to buy me a coffee. I don't want any money. But due to a tragedy that we've had recently, I would appreciate it if you donated to breast cancer, for example. Okay? I'm not going to name any particular charity, but if you did enjoy this video, do make a donation to breast cancer research. Yeah. Anywho, George, over for now. Stay tuned for more fun. Take care.